Desirable difficulties is one of the most important ideas in modern education. It says that learning lasts longest when it takes active effort. Simply put, things that are hard to deal with tend to stay with us for a long time. Unfortunately, we often confuse the comfort of working with the quality of learning. If a student says after a lecture everything was clear, but during exercise they solve the following problem according to the same pattern, we are likely to assume that the teaching process is working properly. However, it's worth checking whether they truly learned or whether they performed the task well under conditions that made it easier for them. When studying something, it is sometimes difficult to distinguish between performance and learning. Simply speaking, performance is everything we see here and now. A good answer at the end of the lecture, a smooth solution to a problem, a precise repetition of a definition. Learning, on the other hand, means a lasting change in long-term memory, which can often only be proved after some time and in a slightly different context. From the perspective, correct performance during class can sometimes mask poor learning. Students perform well because the material is fresh, the task structure is clear, and hints are always available. On the other hand, methods that sometimes disrupt workflow can lead to better retention and knowledge transfer. This can be explained, among other things, by the new theory of disuse. It says that each memory trace can be described by two parameters: storage strength and retrieval strength. The former describes how well information is embedded in long-term memory. The latter describes how easily we can recall it at a given moment. The difficulty lies in the fact that when something is very easy to recall, repetition comes with a little gain. We experience a sense of fluency, but the brain doesn't have to put in much effort. However, when we forget a little, recalling it again becomes more difficult. This effort to retrieve information helps us transfer information to long-term memory. The fluency trap is also related to our issue. When we read underlined text, review familiar slides, or re-listen to a well-delivered lecture, everything seems clear. We confuse the ease of recognizing information with the ability to reproduce it without assistance. An example of desirable difficulty is the generation effect. It involves students trying to predict the answer or create an example before receiving a ready-made explanation. In practice, limited or delayed support is also important. Instead of quickly responding, "Yes, that's a good result," we can ask, "How can you check this?" Or, "Which assumption should you verify now?" However, several myths have arisen around desirable difficulty. The first is that any difficulty in learning is good. This is false. Unclear instructions, poor atmosphere, or technical overload are not desired. They consume our attention but provide no value. The second myth states that desirable difficulty works equally well for everyone. However, if someone doesn't yet have the basics, task that's too difficult won't generate productive effort, only frustration. Desired difficulty should be a challenge, but one still within the learner's reach. The third myth states that if a student struggles, it means they're learning. Effort alone isn't enough. Difficulty should lead to information extraction, error correction, or deeper understanding. If a student wanders without feedback, They have no chance of reaching a meaningful conclusion. Desired difficulties concept forces us educators to design challenges that help students learn a little harder, but at the deeper level.